You should have a green room.
I know. Yeah, have a coffee.
Okay. we
Social
are
donuts.
we are live with Horror with Marchese and Buller, and today let me just bring up there we go. And today we have on Gary Robbe, and Angela Sylvaine. Excellent. And we're going to ask them about their book that they just put out. Whoops, I lost you guys. 1 second. Uh-oh. Oh, there you go. Okay, Terror at 5280. These are all stories in Denver, Colorado, correct? Or is it just Colorado?
Correct.
The Denver Metroplex, the Denver area, so the Boulder, everything along the Front Range. So this is
Cool.
let me give a little shameless self-promotion or book promotion. It's 22 dark tales set in and around Denver in the Front Range of the Rocky Mountains, and it's penned exclusively by local authors.
Cool.
Including some big names: Stephen Graham Jones, Carter Wilson, Josh Viola, Henry Snyder, Karina Bissett, Angela Sylvaine. Many.
She sounds good.
That's something I'll read.
She's
all
the boss.
But yeah. Very, and also I'll give the promotion aspect of it too. You can order it on IndieBound, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's in a number of local bookstores in the greater Denver area. For anyone who might be listening in the Denver area. The Book Bar, the Mutiny Information Cafe, West Side Books, Broadway Book Mall, Second and Charles, Tattered Cover, Barnes & Noble, etc., etc.
Wow, so really good distribution on it.
It's a big distribution here and growing all the time.
So, how did this sort of come about? It's obviously a kind of local effort. What was your person in it? And how did it kind of come together?
Basically, the Denver Horror Collective started as 4 people, 4 of us actually, who were just started as a critique group, and it kind of grew from there to right now. We have about 45 members, and we renamed it the Denver Horror Collective, and we've been doing some local events. And at some point, about 8 months ago, we decided that we would try to put together an anthology because there's so much great local talent around here that it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. And it was a great learning experience. So with some great help from Henry Snyder and Josh Viola and a couple other people, we were able to put together an anthology. So
it started off as a social media thing, and you guys kind of got together in a group.
Yeah, we would actually meet, and we still do. We meet and critique stories and give each other feedback, and it's been super productive and helpful.
Awesome. And how did you kind of get involved, Angela? What was your what was your origin story with regards the group?
Well, I was exposed to nuclear waste. No, I'm just kidding. I had heard of the Denver Horror Collective, and I saw the call. So, as an author, we tend to look for opportunities to write and submit stories and get published. So that's something I'm doing our ideas for. So I saw the call, and I thought it looked like a really cool project to be a part of, and a lot of people with great reputations involved. So I just submitted, and I got accepted. My story in particular is set at Lakeside Amusement Park and the abandoned Lakeside Speedway, which is kind of a landmark in the
Mm.
Denver area, and I think amusement parks are super creepy. So it
Oh.
was really easy for me to come up with a story idea based on that location.
Fantastic. You say you physically meet up as well. You actually meet places, what, at the pub or a library or whatever.
We do, yeah, it is open to anyone in the collective who wants to meet. We meet about once every uh, about once every 4 weeks or so. We meet and go
Wow.
over some. We post the stories. We put the stories up who are going to be critiqued, uh, and
Hmm.
we do that about once every 4 weeks or so. Uh, and we have
That's
a
really,
new
I think
group
that's
that's
really cool,
split
and
off from that, where we're going to be analyzing novels. So people working on novels. So it's
I think it's a really good idea. That it's something that I haven't got to experience, in terms of because I'm so far away from most of the people I know on social media. I don't think I've actually met physically anyone that I know, in the current horror sort of circles that I move in on Twitter and things. Because I'm over in England, it's very rare, an opportunity comes up. I can't go to Stoke
just up
Conny
the
show, which is
street.
really, really annoying. I know,
Only a 3-hour
know, but
drive, right?
yeah. Well, I've never met Will, for example. The closest I got was Chris Stanley. I don't know if you've heard of Chris Stanley. He's a writer, and he is from Bristol, and he come up with for work to Manchester, or he was going to come up to Manchester, and his meeting got cancelled at the last minute. But we were going to meet up for a pint and have a bit of a chat and critique a couple of stories and stuff. And yeah, it's just kind of a shame. But I think it's really, really cool that you have this physical sense of community. You've got these people that actually physically meet. That's really good. Um, so tell me about this book. So who came up with the idea of it?
Yeah, let me read off. I'm going to read you the authors, and I just don't want to forget
Hmm.
anyone. But Josh Schlossberg has been pretty much the driving force behind the collective and the novel, or the
Hmm.
anthology. Mindy
Hmm.
Besdak, Bobby Crew, Desi D, Lisa Mavridis, Thomas C. Mavridis, and Jameis Wilkes, and that's the editorial team. Uh,
Hmm.
and then we have a couple other committees, but Josh has been really part of the driving, like I said, the driving force behind a lot of this. He could not be here
Hmm.
today, but he sends his greetings. Uh,
It says his love.
so yeah, it's once we put out the call and the submissions were just mind blowing. The quality of
Hmm.
the submissions and everything. So it was
And you
a
got Stephen Graham Jones is one of my favourite sort of indie writers. I just love Stephen Graham Jones. The Mapping the
Yeah, he's
Interior was
awesome.
yeah,
fantastic.
and he didn't even hesitate. He jumped on board immediately. So that was a great help. And same thing with Carter Wilson, who is
Hmm.
a best-selling, USA Today
Yeah.
selling author. Uh, he has a story with Josh Viola. Uh, really, everybody jumped on board without even and submitted without even any hesitation. So it was a great response, and there are a tremendous number of horror authors uh, in this area. So
Yeah.
it was kind of an honor and a privilege to be involved with all this. So
Mm. It's
I,
kind of freaky, isn't it? There's so many good writers around you, and to get them all together
scary.
like that, yeah.
It truly is scary that there is so much talent in this area. I think it has something to do with the mountain air or the smog. It could be the smog more than anything.
I noticed there was a forward by John Palisano.
And I should have mentioned yeah, the forwards by John Palisano, who's the uh, director of the president of the Horror Writers Association, and an afterword by Larry Berry, who's also I don't want to say old, but one of the old timers in horror. He's a big name in horror around here. So yeah, tremendous. A lot of stories. The one of the we tried to get that message out in the preface, is that we really don't want people moving out here because it is a really horrible place to live. So all these stories are truly actually based on real events and true things that happen.
It's in the non-fiction section.
In the nonfiction.
Yeah, be scared. It's dangerous.
Oh, it's not that bad, is it, Angela?
You know,
It's
and
terrible.
stories like,
Seriously, zombies typically try to break down my door at least once a week. Um,
yeah, there's mad
Tell me
moose,
about it.
mad moose and elk that are running around, diseases, you know, brain parasites. I mean, everything that you can imagine horrible is here, and
Oh,
people don't believe it, and they come out here and
Tough.
find it out for themselves, and it's too late to leave. So,
yeah. It's kind of funny
you know,
how
we're trying to warn people, but you know, it's not. We haven't been real successful at that, but we're trying.
Oh god. I was gonna say it's kind of funny that you have your forward there by John Palisano. We did something very similar to what you did a couple of years ago, but a slightly smaller group. We had a bit of a social media group we're all involved in, and we put together an anthology called Monsters Exist.
Oh yeah.
And that had John Palisano had a story in that as well, and that was a lot of fun. But it was not kind of this, like you have the physical connection and whatnot. There was nothing like that. It was just all over social media, all via a chat group.
That's a great book too, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah, yeah. We all put a lot of time. Will was in it. I'm in it. M.R. Tapia's in it. Oh gosh, Teresa Braun was in it. Yeah, off the top of my head, I'm just trying to remember. But it's been a couple of years.
A great group. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good. Sarah Budd, S.J. Budd was in it. That was another English author. But I can see I kind of draw parallels of how it kind of came about and stuff. So, what was the editorial process? What happened? There was a submission. You submitted, and the editorial team went through, accepted, rejected.
Yeah, every story had at least 3 readers, and you know, we would decide whether the story was, you know, up to the standards that we wanted, and really, it was again pretty amazing. The process, because there was very little editorial work involved with almost all the stories.
Nice.
And there were a few that we had to work with some of the writers, but for the most part, it was just, you know, we could have just keep accepting stories till doomsday almost.
And where did the title come from?
I think that was the title came from, I believe, Thomas Steve Mavridis, I think, was one who came up with the title. I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure he came up with it. We you know, bandied about different titles for a while, but this one just kind of stuck and was the best. You know, we thought was the best one. And we had the title really relatively early in the G. You know, wonder if we could come up with an anthology process. So way back in the beginning stages, you know, we had the title worked out, and
Yeah,
again,
that's
great
fantastic.
help with people setting up. The cover was designed by a local artist named the Rip Rock. Don't ask
The
me
cover's
why.
really cool, by the way. I really like the cover.
It's very cool.
It is very cool. He's a very talented artist, and there's a lot of really talented artists.
I think has Gary gone?
Of course,
Oh,
There he
hi.
is.
it's my son. I'll
Sorry,
I'll
Gary,
have
just
him
vanished
join
for a
the
second
group
there.
here. Oh,
Brilliant.
go ahead.
So Angela, did you already have a story written you submitted, or did you start
I
writing when
didn't.
you heard the call?
I started writing when I heard
So-
the call. Yeah,
So tell us a little
basically,
bit
I
about your
just
story.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned, it takes place at Lakeside Amusement Park, which is a very old historic amusement park. And there used to be a speedway next door where they would have different kinds of car races. But now it's been out of business for a long time, and it's a very spooky place. You can actually find drone footage flying over it. It's called Lakeside Speedway, and it just has like abandoned cars, and it's got trees growing out of the asphalt, and it's kind of the opposite of the amusement park, right? So that's
right.
my idea started, was how you could have something kind of evil tempt you from the joy and the families and the laughter of the desiccation and spookiness of the abandoned speedway. It's about a 16-year-old girl named Claire who is extremely in a very strict family and not allowed a lot of freedom except on her birthday. So she always goes to Lakeside Amusement Park because she's a coaster enthusiast and she just loves the freedom and danger embodied in the coaster. And while at the park, she meets Mia, who is the one who kind of tempts her to go to the speedway. So, and then, nefarious things happen there.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
It's actually a pretty heartwarming, feel-good type story that.
Maybe.
If this were a Disney anthology, it would fit perfectly.
Yeah.
No, I can
It's a good classic fairy tale.
Tell us a bit about your story, Gary. What's your story? Do you have it written, or did you write it specifically for the anthology, or?
I wrote it specifically for the anthology. It's called Scrape, and it's in Denver. What's a very popular thing is kind of a gentrification where people buy old homes, scrape it down to the ground, and build a new place on top of, where the old one used to be. So my story is basically a story of that gone bad. The horror for the a haunted house that doesn't quite leave even though you take it down.
I'm kind of interested to know, you've both written obviously quite horrible stories about your local area, but when the truth comes down to it, I assume you're actually very proud of where you're from, and how does that kind of factor into your writing when you're writing about something that's so close to your heart, if that makes sense?
Well, we don't want people moving here, so we're trying to warn people away. I can't stress that enough, right?
Yeah.
Denver just has a tremendous history and background and most big cities do, I guess, but there's just a lot of folklore and urban legends around Denver, and it's just, a lot of haunted areas, a lot of places that have, stories behind it that, it's easy to come up with stuff to write about in a town like this.
Yeah, and I think it's almost like a yin and yang, right? Anything that's going to be really good is also going to have a really bad side. So I think of it kind of like that, right? We have a lot of natural beauty here, and a lot of really great places, but we also have a lot of, just like any big city, we have crime and we have bad things that happen. And I think that's kind of the cool part about horror, right? Is you can look at kind of the underbelly of all that stuff, which probably every place has. So.
And Denver has, in all the little towns around here, the mining histories and everything, it's got a really checkered past. So, it's just, you can come up with a dozen, hundreds and hundreds of stories and local legends to write about.
Yeah. So for someone like me who I've never been to Denver, I can't even visualize Denver in my head, because America is a big country. You see New York on television. I've been to Florida. You see all these sort of places. Oh. But if you were selling me, if you were saying if you were selling me Denver, if you were saying this is what Denver's about, what is Denver? What is it as a place? What's it like?
I'll let Angela answer that. I'm a relative newcomer to Denver, so.
Yeah, and I don't live in Denver. I'm about an hour north. But I would say Denver it's definitely a big city, lots of skyscrapers. So that's what you're going to see when you're driving into Denver. But it's kind of the backdrop of the Rocky Mountains. So you're going to see snowy peaks and skyscrapers kind of all in the same view. And just like
Hmm.
any big city, it's got a ton to do and see and, great food and everything else. But it's also got, its share of crime and history and all that stuff. So it's a really interesting place. I would definitely recommend you come for vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
cool.
And
could come
if
meet
if you
us. You
really,
could come meet us, your new writer buddies,
yeah.
and see
There
it
you
for
go.
yourself.
If I'm in Denver, I definitely will.
Well, the
Sorry, go on.
Stoker Con will be here in 2021.
Oh, cool. Oh,
So
Yeah.
very nice.
that's big news.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
So it's an
So,
exciting to come.
where's good to eat in Denver then? Where do I go to eat? What's a good place to get something to eat then in Denver?
Oh,
Oh
good.
gosh, there's so many places. It kind of depends what you're going for, but I think I'm always kind of a food cart and food truck kind of girl. I love just
Hmm.
walking around the downtown area and just seeing where people are lining up for food.
Hmm.
I think that's a really cool scene to check out, and it's something you can just kind of do on the fly, and it's not real expensive. You don't have to spend a lot of money. So that's what I would do, just walk around downtown, find food trucks, and just
Yeah.
see where the day takes you.
Right. And
Oh,
there are
very nice.
something like 200 breweries in Denver. So
Oh, wow.
it's
I'll
an
book the flights
incredible
now.
Yeah,
brewery town.
we love our beer.
Where's this
Oh,
Yaya's Euro Bistro?
Uh,
Oh, I don't think I've been to that one.
that is
Have you, Gary?
actually I I was there for an event with Bobby Crew, who's one of the editors, launched a book there a while back, and that's a pretty nice upscale restaurant. Very nice. Uh, I didn't eat there though, but it was very nice. So I couldn't
oh,
tell you what kind of food they
lovely.
actually have.
Yeah. You Denver people seem to have go after my own heart because us English guys we love a beer. So if you sell beer, I'm booking the flight. In fact, I'll get Rudolph and the rest of the reindeers now,
Wait, I'll be
and
right
I'll
back,
come
guys.
fly over.
And Denver does have, I mean, it's a conglomeration of every type of like food that you could eat. You know, a lot of Mexican, a lot of,
Hmm.
uh, I mean, every pizza place is like New York style pizza, right?
Nice. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Uh,
But they do call us the Napa Valley of beer. It's because of the water. We have such good water here. That's why we have so many breweries. So
right.
Yeah.
we have a
Father
lot of
Christmas
choices.
likes beer very much. Oh. Make sure you leave some with a mince pie.
Yeah, that's right. That's the rule. That's the
This
rule.
bit is
Instead of
up to
milk
me.
and
I'm gonna
cookies.
have to exactly this bit. This is
Well,
really
that
getting on my
looks
nerves
better.
now.
Yeah, I took
Oh,
mine off already.
God, it's itching my face.
So
Uh,
can I read
Hello.
through all the can I read all through the real quickly the authors in the book
Yes.
and their
Yeah,
stories?
please do.
It'll just
Yeah.
take a second.
Yeah,
Uh,
you know it's
the foreword's by John Palisano. There's a story, and I'll just go through. Matthew Lyons has a story called The Depths. Uh, Laughing Sal by Lindsay King Miller. This Was Always Going to Happen by Stephen Graham Jones. Electric Stalker by Rebecca S.W. Bates. Gaze with Undimmed Eyes and the World Drops Dead by Corinna Bissett. Grave Mistake by Joshua Viola and Carter Wilson. There Is Something Up There by Joy Yaley. Scrape by me. The Copper Door Karma Jar by Sindra Spencer. Block 13 by Thomas C. Mavridis. A Place for Katie by Melinda Bezdek. Taste by Henry Snyder. Chronic Cold by Josh Schlossberg. The Dead Spot by Angela Sylvaine. The Ghost of Cheeseman Park, Grace Horton. Old Golden Road by Jay Seat. If I Shall Wake by Desi D. The Blue Lady by Sean Murphy, which actually is one of the, it's a short story, but it's actually one of the ones that's actually based on a true thing that's happened to him and his family.
wow.
Mountain Lovers by Bobby Crew. Left Behind by P.L. McMillan. Deep Veins by Travis Herman. And That Time Maggie Ghosted Me by Jameis Wilkes. And then the last words called Cannibal Kings and Queens by Larry Berry. So
Wow, there are some names in
glad
there
to read that.
yeah, there's. I recognise at least half of those names, and there's quite a few names there.
Yeah.
So that's a. I'm just amazed that you're all part of the same group. That's mad.
It is a good mix of pretty established authors and then some new writers. So,
And Gary, those were the writers. Who was the editing team?
the editing team, I read that earlier, but I'll read that again, was Josh Schlossberg, myself, Mindy Bezdek, Bobby Crew, Desi D, Lisa Mavrudis, Thomas C. Mavrudis, and Jameis Wilkes.
Nice.
And
Nice.
Wow.
and we pretty much just shared up
Yeah,
the
I've known.
stories, and a couple of us read, maybe because we had more time, read more than others, but we all pretty much shared the reading and the editing
Yeah.
responsibility.
I mean, I think on Twitter, I've known you and I've known Josh Schlossberg for like forever. I think
It's been a long time.
longer than that. Yeah, it's been at least 3 years probably. But no, it's really heartwarming to see all you guys getting together and doing something like this. I think it's fantastic. It's really good. Like I've only just kind of started it, but I'm really looking forward to sort of getting into. I love a short story collection. I love collections. That's what makes up the bulk of my reading at the moment because my time is just so condensed. It's nice to be able to kind of pick something up, and most of the larger books.
Gary, your short story collection is really good.
Oh, thank you.
And that's
Thank
been a
you.
while. It's been out for a long time now, but
Yeah, it was. Oh gosh, about 3 years.
yeah,
I've got that
not
mini
that,
collection
maybe
out.
3 years.
Yeah, and I've got a new mini collection with Domain Publishing that's out at the moment. But it's only 3 stories. I think it's like 99 cents on Amazon or something. But it came out fairly recently. I've got another one coming out with Unnerving next year. But this is not about me. This is about you guys.
Well, since both of them are moving out to Denver, I mean, yeah.
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 When you're moving out there, Will.
Well, I could drive there. And it takes about. I think isn't Manuel Tapia out there also?
He's in Greeley,
Yeah,
which
I
is
think
a couple hours north of Denver.
And that's where they did the Shining, the hotel Overlook.
Well, the Overlook is actually based on the Stanley Hotel. It's where Stephen King, the filming of The Shining, the TV version was done at the Stanley in Estes Park, and that's where Stephen King wrote the book, or most of the book. But the actual Overlook was based on a hotel that Stanley Kubrick did, was based on a hotel in Oregon.
Ah,
But the Stanley is still a really cool hotel to visit.
It's very cool.
Yeah, and that's in Estes Park, which is just
booked it.
north of Denver, also.
and then Stanley Kubrick did the directing, right?
Of the movie, yeah.
So this is what we're gonna do, everybody. Oh, sorry, Angela,
Oh, cool.
you're saying?
No, I'm good.
Oh, this is what we're gonna do. This was just a live thing to get a lot of the extra stuff in. Now we're gonna go and edit a show, or record a show rather, and then I'm gonna put some editing magic to it. So we're gonna ask like more pointed questions. So everybody, that show should be out maybe sometime Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how crazy my job is and how much they want to abuse me.
It's a good time to quit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right. But I have an hour and a half long commute, so my commute is usually just editing videos and
Oh my God.
me and Gary taking out all the ums and the ands and all that other stuff. But
Gosh.
we will return with more Terror at 5280 in just, well, a few days. I mean, not
Everything
Hey, there you go.
backward. Red Rum, right.
Red Room. It's on
Hello.
Amazon. You can check it out on Amazon. I believe you guys also have an Indiegogo, right?
Well, we
Yeah.
had that for a fundraising, but it is on IndieBound, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and I believe Josh added it to someone else recently, but I can't remember who it is with. But yeah, it's available everywhere,
Excellent.
and definitely worth the money.
You ever sneak into
Yeah.
a bookstore and just like place it on the shelf?
Well, we've gone physically to bookstores to put them on to get them to do it, but yeah, we've
Officially.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
and we've conspired to move it to different places within the bookstore to the better locations.
Nice.
So
I
we're
always take
pretty
mine into
picky
bookstores,
about it.
and I take my collection into bookstores and often find it in the lavatories. So
That's probably the best place.
Oh no!
the paper's really good
No, it's
quality,
great.
to be
That's
fair.
great exposure.
One last thing before we go, I saw this I watch Hallmark. Okay, don't judge. But there was this one movie where this girl was a writer, and she went up to this other girl that was looking at her magazine, and she gave her a few bucks, and she said, "Here, this one's on me," right? So as soon as she left, the girl pocketed the money and put the book back on the shelf. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh,
Oh,
I forgot the name of that show, but it was one of the newer ones. But anyway, we're gonna start editing now, and we will all see you. Well, yeah, we'll see you next time because we're gonna edit
Thank
the show.
you very much. Thank you. Remember again, Tara at 5280.
yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Nice.
Now,